That was Evan Gershkovich, along with former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, getting on a plane in Russia to begin their journey back to the U.S. All of it part of a historic prisoner swap, the likes of which have not been seen since the Cold War. I'm Valerie Castro in for Gadi Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. The Biden administration is celebrating a big win tonight after securing the release of 4 Americans who were wrongfully detained in Russia. President Biden calling the deal a feat of diplomacy.
The deal that made this possible was a feat of diplomacy and friendship.
What did you say to them on the phone, sir? What did you say when they answered the phone on the other side?
I said, welcome almost home.
These 3 of the 4 Americans are expected to return to the U.S. in the next few hours, landing at Joint Base Andrews, where President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will welcome them in person. Biden tweeting this photo earlier, the group inside the airplane on their way back, all smiles. Those freed include Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, who was sentenced to 16 years in a maximum security Russian prison just last month, former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, who had been in detention since 2018 on espionage charges, and 2 journalists, Alsu Kurmasheva and Vladimir Kara-Murza. Kara-Murza will not be part of the group returning to the U.S. tonight. He is going directly to Germany, where his family will meet him. This exchange reportedly took months to come about and included these 7 countries and a total of 24 prisoners. Our team is here to break it all down for us tonight. NBC White House correspondent Ali Rafa, NBC International correspondent Josh Letterman, and NBC News International Affairs analyst and former U.S. ambassador to Russia Michael McFaul. Ali, let's start with you in Washington. How did this all come about, and what role did the U.S. play in leading the charge with the other countries?
Yeah, Valerie, well, we've long heard President Biden talk about his decades-long friendships, his relationships with world leaders, and White House officials today are crediting those relationships for this deal coming to fruition. We're told that a major milestone was reached in 2022 with the release of WNBA star Brittany Griner, but a major breakthrough happened back in January when the president sat down with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and talked about how Germany was really the key to making this deal come through, given that Russia said that it would not agree to anything unless a Russian prisoner being held in Germany was part of any prisoner exchange. And so we're told that after that is when these diplomatic conversations involving other countries were brought in, countries like Poland, Slovenia, Norway, and Turkey, which today provided a safe space for these released prisoners to be able to board these planes and get to their countries of origin. And the president is saying that the leaders of these countries were involved at his direct request. He says that he has personally called them and thanked all of them for their involvement in this painstaking, almost 2-year-long process. And he says this is an example of how important it is to have friends on the world stage, to keep these very deep-seated alliances, saying that those alliances are what make Americans safer. So this was an effort years in the making, and the president is saying tonight that it's not over, saying that he will continue his work trying to get those Americans that have been wrongfully detained all over the country released and sent back home, Valerie.
And the timing of this deal seems pretty interesting, right? Biden is no longer running for president in the race. Harris is the front runner on her side. What role did she play here, and is the White House saying anything about that?
Yeah, officials are saying that the final details of this deal really came together over the last 2 weeks. And remember, the last 2 weeks was when the president has faced arguably the most difficult decision and position of his political career as he faced these growing calls to drop out of the 2024 race. And we're told that even just up to an hour before he made that decision and announced it to the American people that he would drop out of the 2024 race, he was making calls to world leaders trying to finalize the arrangements around this deal before he passed the torch, of course, to Vice President Harris. And Vice President Harris today has said that this was the result of years of coordination and communication between her, the president, and their diplomatic counterparts. We're told by a White House official that she had a big role in this as well, also sitting down with the German chancellor as well as the Slovenian prime minister. We also know that she personally has spoken to the widow of the late Alexei Navalny, talking about the administration's continued effort in this space. And of course, we know tonight she's going to be side by side with President Biden to greet these Americans as soon as they touch down on U.S. soil.
White House correspondent Ali Rafa, thank you, Ali. Now let's bring in Josh Letterman. Josh, what do we know about the Russian prisoners returning back? Who are they?
Well, the big, bold name here is Vadim Krasikov, who was convicted in Germany of being a hitman for the FSB, who assassinated a Chechen dissident basically in broad daylight in Berlin back in 2019. He is the one that President Putin had publicly suggested was on his list of people he wanted to get back. And in fact, we're told that his release was really key to unlocking this broader prisoner exchange. And then the other Russians who are being released really fall into two buckets. There are some who are essentially financial criminals involved in money-related crimes, including using cyber hacking to defraud people. And then the other group involve accused Russian spies who had been charged with espionage, mostly in Europe.
And Josh, what role did other countries play here in mediating this entire deal?
Well, the involvement of these other countries was absolutely critical because of the fact that this is not simply a bilateral exchange between the U.S. and Russia. And so that diplomacy involving the German government in particular and their willingness to give up Vadim Krasikov, a prisoner that, frankly, they wanted to see serve out his punishment in Germany, really was key to getting this across the finish line. And we also know that the Turkish government played a significant role here in facilitating the exchange, the handover on Turkish soil today. The Turkish intelligence organization says that they were involved in inspecting the aircraft, doing the initial medical checks on those detainees as they were released and brought to Turkey to be then forwarded on to their home countries.
And Josh, finally, the last exchange we saw involved Brittany Griner. At that time, Paul Whelan was a name that we were hearing a lot. He is part of this exchange, but there's also Mark Fogel, who is still detained. His family put out a statement today. What did they have to say?
Yeah, this is a problem every time you have one of these exchanges and you don't get back everybody that you might want. And so when Paul Whelan was sadly left behind during the Brittany Griner exchange, his family was very upset about that. The Biden administration vowed to continue to work to bring him and other detained Americans home. And now today, with this exchange that it does not include Mark Fogel, we're hearing from his family saying they are heartbroken and outraged that he was once again left behind. They are calling on the Biden administration to publicly say his name, something that President Biden didn't explicitly do in his remarks today. But the Biden administration and the president did say they plan to continue to work on future deals to try to bring other wrongfully detained Americans home. And in fact, the Russian government actually kind of said something similar today, that there are still other Russians who remain in U.S. custody that they want to see come back. And so that is perhaps creating just a little bit of hope that this might not be the end of the road, that there could be future diplomacy going forward to try to bring back additional Americans detained in Russia if there are further deals to be struck with the Russian government.
International correspondent Josh Letterman. Josh, thank you. Ambassador McFaul, let's bring you into this conversation now. Ambassador, the administration is calling this the biggest exchange we have seen since the Cold War. Explain just how historic all of this is.
Well, first, I think it's the biggest exchange in history. I think there's only one other exchange of this size in the Cold War. All the others were kind of one-on-one. And the complexity of the diplomacy, as you were just discussing, I think is unprecedented. I can't remember another case that involves so many different jigsaw puzzles to make it happen. And in particular, as you were just discussing, this killer, this assassin, this Vadim Krasikov is his name, a Russian intelligence officer, got a big hug from Putin when he landed in Moscow tonight. That was the person that Putin wanted most. But he's in Germany, right? And the Germans weren't willing to swap him for our journalists, so they had to make the problem bigger. And with really creative diplomacy, added names, and in particular, added Russian opposition figures. One of them, Volodya Kara-Murza, that you mentioned, but also Ilya Yashin, one of the most prominent political opposition leaders, jailed in Russia. Oleg Orlov, a major human rights figure, one of the founders of Memorial. And by doing that, that made it easier for the Germans to do it. I think it's an incredible diplomatic achievement, and the Biden administration, the whole team, because this was a big team effort, deserves a lot of credit tonight.
And following up on your response there, do you see this becoming a huge part of Biden's presidential legacy? First, Brittany Griner, now Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan. Are these big diplomatic wins?
Yeah, from my point of view, yes, absolutely. Now, there are critics that say if you do these swaps, you lead to more people being detained. Actually, the academic literature on that suggests that's not true. But Mr. Trump claimed that he could get Evan out of jail, but he didn't do that. He didn't get Paul Whelan out of jail. Paul Whelan, to remind everybody, was arrested in 2018. Mr. Trump had 2 years to get him out. Biden got him out today. Biden got a lot of these other people out. And I think it shows another part of his legacy is not just his ability to get these people out, but the ability to make alliances, to build relationships. The chancellor in Germany, in particular, to leverage that alliance, that is important, I think, for advancing American security interests, broadly speaking, and most certainly it was essential for making this deal happen today.
Thank you for your insight, Ambassador Michael McCaul. Thank you.
Thank you.
And tonight, growing tension in the Middle East following the deaths of 3 high-profile Hamas or Iranian-linked figures, all killed by Israel in the last couple of weeks. Today, Israel announced the death of a Hamas military chief during an airstrike in Gaza last month. The news came as Iran held a funeral for Hamas's political chief, Ismail Haniyeh, who Israel struck down yesterday. Iran's supreme leader vowed to take revenge for Haniyeh's death, but how or when it may happen is still up in the air. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez has more.
Israeli forces are on high alert tonight in the face of simultaneous threats from Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas. The Iranian regime vowing to take revenge after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, Hamas's political chief, in the very heart of the Iranian capital, Tehran. He was killed just a couple of hours after meeting Iran's supreme leader, who today led his funeral in the Iranian capital. This killing is a major humiliation for the Iranian regime, the supreme leader saying they have a duty to take revenge. And we have some idea of what that could look like. You'll remember back in April, Iran firing 300 ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, drones at Israel. Those were intercepted largely with the help of the United States. And the Israeli military saying today that not just Israeli forces, but also its allies are on high alert in case they are called upon to once again defend Israel's airspace from incoming fire, not just from Iran, but also its proxies in southern Lebanon, Hezbollah. Now, President Biden, Prime Minister Netanyahu due to speak. We know that for President Biden, he has short-term and long-term priorities. Short-term, he is desperately trying to prevent the eruption of all-out war in the Middle East, to keep this conflict from spilling over, both on Israel's northern border, in Lebanon with Hezbollah, but also the possibility of war between Israel and Iran. But longer term, the president wants to try to get that elusive ceasefire in Gaza nailed down. It has now been 300 days of war, 300 days of captivity for those hostages. The United States trying to keep those ceasefire talks on track, but it is a situation made much, much more difficult by these escalating tensions in the region. Back to you.
Okay, Ref, thank you. And in court today, the alleged leader of the notorious Sinaloa drug cartel, Ismael El Mayo Zambada, the Mexican drug kingpin, was arrested in Texas last week alongside the son of infamous drug lord El Chapo. Both have pleaded not guilty to U.S. drug trafficking charges. NBC News correspondent Gad Venegas joins us now. Gad, what was today's preliminary hearing about, and did it give us a glimpse of how the actual trial may eventually unfold?
Valerie, this was a status conference, a status hearing, very quick, about 10 minutes. The shocking thing about this hearing is to actually see the sketches of Ismael Mayo Zambada. This is a man who was in Mexico decades ago when the original founders of the Mexican cartels sat and essentially organized or created organized crime in Mexico, except many of them either died or had been arrested. We're talking about El Chapo Guzman, Caro Quintero, Felix Gallardo, and now Mayo Zambada, apprehended by U.S. authorities. So we see the sketches, we look at his face, and by the way, this is the first time we see what he looks like after decades since the last photo of him had surfaced. Now, during today's audience, the judge wanted to make sure that Zambada understood that there may be a conflict of interest with his attorney, indicating that that attorney also represented Zambada's son. The judge wanted to make sure that he understood. Zambada said yes and told the judge he wanted to continue to work with his attorney. The judge also set a new audience for September 9th. Zambada has been denied bond and will remain apprehended by U.S. authorities in custody. Now, there's a lot of questions as to how Zambada was apprehended. We know that he arrived in an airplane with the son of El Chapo Guzman, Joaquin Guzman Lopez, but there's a lot of questions as to whether Zambada wanted to get on that flight. So we've heard his attorney representing him in the U.S. now saying that El Chapo's son forced Zambada to get on the plane, essentially kidnapped him, handcuffed him, put him in a pickup truck, then took him to a plane, even saying that he tied Zambada to the seat before they both flew into the United States. But there's an attorney in Mexico that represents the Chapo Guzman family, indicating that about 4 years ago, both Zambada and Guzman began negotiations with the U.S. government to find the right conditions for both of them to surrender. So contradicting statements. Meanwhile, El Chapo's son, who was apprehended with Zambada, has been taken to Chicago where he's facing charges. The attorney representing him has indicated that El Chapo's son did not have a deal with the U.S. government. So lots of information coming from different places. The Mexican government says that according to the information they received from U.S. authorities, U.S. agents found out that both of these men were on that plane only after the plane took off last week, before they met them at that airport in New Mexico and apprehended them. So, Valerie, there's a lot of mystery as to how they arrived in the U.S. and whether it was voluntary or not, and what role U.S. authorities played in planning that, Valerie.
I'm sure we'll only continue to learn more at those next court appearances. Guad Venegas, thank you. And don't go anywhere, we're just getting started. Up next, out-of-control wildfires burning through 3 states, fire crews being stretched to their limits, why weather conditions in Colorado and California could make the fight even more dangerous. Plus, the battle over the border. J.D. Vance getting an up-close look at the crisis and blasting the Biden administration, how the issue is becoming a focal point in the race for the White House. And later this hour, you know his name, and you cannot avoid him at the Summer Olympics. We're talking about music icon turned Olympics superfan Snoop Dogg. Tonight, he's going one-on-one with our Lester Holt, talking about his takeover in Paris.
You're living your best life right now.
I am having fun. Let me stop lying. I am having fun.
Did you expect any of this?
Never. Never in my wildest dreams, especially as a kid growing up.
Welcome back. Here are some of the stories out west that we're following. A mailbox explosion in Northern California has one community concerned. A parcel box blew up out of nowhere near Sacramento. You can see it completely warped and destroyed. Now federal investigators are trying to figure out exactly what happened last Friday. Tampering with a postal box is considered a federal crime. Another round of actor strikes underway in Los Angeles. This time, video game performers are on the picket lines. They're striking for protections against unregulated use of AI. Negotiations between the SAG-AFTRA members and a bunch of video game companies have dragged on for 18 months. The companies say they have already offered the union AI protections. An Amazon delivery driver going beyond the call of duty. He jumped into action after seeing a home in Seattle go up in flames. The driver broke into the burning home to make sure no one was inside, actually kicking in the door with a neighbor. Luckily, the homeowner was walking her dog at the time, and everyone is okay. August has arrived and much of the country is baking. With July being the warmest month of the year, it's no surprise that cities across the country broke monthly heat records.
We did, in fact, break the record for the hottest July. Out of PDX, those records go back to 1940s.
No question, the summer has been a brutal one. Weeks of record-setting temperatures.
100 degrees, as high as 108. It's going to be a hot day across Central Florida.
Yes, even Floridians were feeling heat considered extreme. And further north, places like Albany and Hartford set new monthly records. Out west, Portland, Las Vegas, and Reno are among dozens of cities that broke records, too. But no spot was hotter than Death Valley, California. The infamous desert just recorded the hottest month ever measured on our planet, with an average temperature of 108.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Death Valley broke its own previous world record set in July in 2018. Meteorologist Bill Cairns joins me now. Bill, it feels like there's a new record set pretty much every month at this point.
Yeah, and if you've been following us here on News Now in our climate coverage, this really shouldn't surprise a lot of people. So we just got done with El Nino, which bakes the oceans. So the oceans are at record warm. And then some of that's going to translate over to the land. And we have, our man-made global warming added on top of it. So that's why we've had so many records set recently. And it looks like, in the West, this was easily the hottest July we've ever had. I mean, we nitpicked a couple cities there. There were dozens that had their hottest July ever recorded. And now as we go into August, we're still seeing exceptional heat across the country. We're not smashing all-time records, but just widespread coast to coast. It's pretty rare to have both coasts at the same time with heat waves, but that's the case in the Northwest, the East Coast, and all through the middle of the country, too, where it's exceptionally humid, too. So as we go through tomorrow, about 16 degrees warmer than it should be in areas like Montana, going to be up to 105. And the thing you have to think about is, A, for anyone working outside, of course, but how about all the firefighters, thousands of them on 100-plus blazes we have burning throughout areas of the West in this extreme heat. Dry conditions, and the breeze picks up in the afternoon typically, and that's going to happen this weekend too. As we head through Saturday, 101 Rapid City, Sacramento, 100 Phoenix, 112. Even by Phoenix standards, that's a pretty hot temperature. And right into next week, I don't really have any I can't say, hey, here comes some cooler air. 112 in Vegas Tuesday, 100 in Salt Lake City. Denver's still in the mid-90s, Spokane at 97. So it looks like the heat is here to stay through the first week of August. And here's our August forecast. Hotter than normal East Coast and much hotter than normal all through the Four Corner region up into the northern Rockies. So not a lot of relief. And as far as the next big weather story, we're going to be watching this closely. We're getting towards the peak of the hurricane season, so it's not a surprise that we're tracking something. But this mess right now south of the Turks and Caicos Island near Haiti is going to be heading over towards Florida in the west, and just off the west coast of Florida. And that's what our computer models are hinting at. Now, when it's over land here, we really shouldn't have much development. But as we head over the weekend, if it's just off the coast over very warm water, we could possibly get some development. And it looks to be moving slowly, too. And any system like this that moves slowly can be, produce epic amounts of rainfall, especially in the tropical areas. So this is a rough estimate of how much rain could fall. All this really says now, since we don't know exactly when it's going to form or where it's going to go, is that somewhere we have a chance of getting flash flooding or river flooding, 6 to 12 inches of rain somewhere in Florida or southern portions of Georgia. So, Valerie, this will be the story that will develop over the upcoming weekend. And if this does get a name, it would be our D-name, Storm Debbie.
All right. And as far as the heat, we'll just keep suffering.
Yes,
okay.
For a while.
Bill Cairns, thank you. That West Coast heat that Bill was talking about means dangerous conditions for crews fighting wildfires in Northern California. Firefighters are making some progress on the Park Fire. It's now 18% contained. We're told more than 500 structures have been damaged or destroyed. Conditions there being described as increasingly critical as we head into the weekend. And there are also still several active fires burning in Colorado. That is where Liz Kreutz is tonight. Liz, talk about the situation where you are. I know you got there yesterday.
Hey, Valerie. Yeah, I mean, just talking about that heat here in Colorado, it's so hot here, and that is making it so challenging for firefighters with all of their gear, all of this steep terrain. And we were told that yesterday 4 firefighters suffered some heat stroke-related illnesses. They are doing okay, but it just speaks to the challenges that they're facing here. Right now, we're at the Quarry Fire. This one is smaller. It's about 400 acres now, still 0% contained, but it continues to threaten homes and property. So hundreds of people remain evacuated right now. We are south of the Denver area. In the northern part, just north of Denver, is the Alexander Mountain Fire. That fire has exploded to more than 8,000 acres, and we've just learned within the past few hours that multiple structures have been destroyed. Take a listen.
We have lost approximately 24 structures. Unfortunately, we have a lot of exposure to this in the last few years, so it's not our first time experiencing this.
Now here we're seeing choppers overhead. They're still trying to fight these fires from the air and from the ground. The National Guard has been brought in, as we mentioned before. In California, there's still concern that Park Fire, it is 18% contained. And although some evacuation orders have been lifted, Valerie, today we got word that there were more evacuation orders issued in Tehama County. It's a rural part of the state, but still it just shows you that it continues to grow now more than a week after it ignited. Valerie.
All right, Liz, in Colorado, where you are, that's my home state. I know it can be especially dry this time of year, causing those concerns. Thank you for your reporting. Coming up, chaos at a Chick-fil-A after an armed robber climbs through a drive-through window and an employee fights back. The entire incident caught on camera. But first, you got to see this. The Memphis Zoo decided to host its own unique version of the Olympics, featuring animals as the competitors. The events included log balance, floor vault, and tumbling. And if you ask me, these are all gold medal contenders for Los Angeles in 2028. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. A scary situation at a Virginia food plant. An ammonia gas leak sending dozens of people to the hospital. All of the workers got out of the building, but one person was left unconscious. Several people are still being treated. No word yet on the cause of the leak. The captain of the boat that went up in flames being told to pay the victims' families. 34 people died in 2019 aboard the scuba diving vessel near Santa Barbara. Jerry Boylan was ordered to pay restitution when he was convicted in federal court last year. A judge is ordering him to pay around $32,000. That's just to 3 of the families. Other cases tied to the tragedy are still pending. Harvey Weinstein could soon be heading back to California. The LA Times reports Governor Newsom signed an extradition warrant for the disgraced movie mogul. Weinstein is currently in custody in New York. A court there overturned his rape conviction, but the charges still remain. Weinstein was also convicted of rape in California. Don Lemon is fighting back against Elon Musk. He's suing the billionaire over the cancellation of his deal with X. The former CNN anchor was supposed to have his own show on the platform. The lawsuit alleges Musk used the partnership to boost the media company's profile and reneged on payment. Lemon's deal was scrapped in March after taping just one episode with Musk as the guest. A wild scene inside a Georgia Chick-fil-A, an employee fighting off an armed robber. You can see the worker grapple with the man after he climbed through the drive-through window. This happened about a month ago, but police just released this video. The suspect ran from the restaurant and has since been caught. Earlier today, Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance visited the U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona. Immigration's been a hot topic during President Trump's campaign, and the attacks have now ramped up with Kamala Harris as the presumptive nominee. Here's what Vance had to say about Harris's time spent tackling the issue.
One of the reasons why Border Czar Kamala Harris has been such a failure here is because she was in charge of coordinating the federal government response. The courts have said the federal government has a lot of power here. You just have to use it. And Kamala Harris has refused to use her authority to make our country safe.
Here's NBC News correspondent Garrett Hake with more.
Valerie, for the Trump campaign and for Donald Trump, the border is kind of a safety blanket issue. It has been his most defining issue since he got into politics in 2015. It has animated all of his campaigns, and this one is no different. His campaign believes that it's the issue on which Kamala Harris is most vulnerable. So to the degree the Trump campaign wants to focus on issues, sending J.D. Vance there today is a way to draw eyeballs, draw attention to what they believe are the Biden administration and Kamala Harris specifically's failure to try to control migration. For Vance, he makes it personal. He talks about drugs coming over the border as well. He talked about the dangers of fentanyl. Remember, this is someone whose own mother was a drug addict for most of his life. That's the kind of powerful personal story that the Trump campaign hopes it can use to connect policy to personnel in a way that'll connect with people who might not otherwise care about this issue. I think the challenge for them is and is going to continue to be Donald Trump's campaigns are often not defined by policy. They're defined by Donald Trump. And even today, you're still seeing that hangover from his comments about Vice President Kamala Harris's race and whether or not she was essentially lying or faking being black, overshadowing Vance's tour at the border today, his conversations with border security officials, and his interviews with reporters there, which were at least in part about his view that the Harris the Harris administration, the Biden administration, and the person of Kamala Harris weren't doing enough at the border. But all of them included at least some questions about Kamala Harris's race. And that, I can tell you, Valerie, is not territory that the rest of the Republican Party wants to be fighting this election.
Turning now to the campaign of Vice President Kamala Harris, the search for her VP will soon be coming to a close. We still don't know exactly when we can expect the big reveal, but the deadline is fast approaching. On Tuesday, she's set to kick off a tour of 7 swing states with her soon-to-be-named running mate, starting in Philadelphia. This is 2 sources tell NBC News that members of her vetting team have met privately with all 6 of the contenders. They include Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Let's bring in our political embed, Nnamdi Igwanwu. Nnamdi, let's start with the search for the VP. What's the latest there?
Yeah, just as you mentioned, we now have a better idea of who's going to be on this final list of contenders that the Harris campaign is taking a serious look at. We know that, like you mentioned, over the past 2 days, 6 contenders were vetted by her team. J.B. Pritzker apparently having an hours-long session over Zoom that was described to some as being very in-depth and comprehensive. So it's giving you a look at exactly who is being considered here. Another thing that, as we kind of keep on reading the tea leaves here is we now know that some of these contenders have canceled upcoming events this weekend, including Andy Beshear of Kentucky, including Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, and Tim Walz of Minnesota, all 3 of them clearing their schedules as we sort of grasp for any sort of information that can clue us into who the campaign is taking seriously here. As you can imagine, it's pretty hard to get any of these contenders to talk about this actual process, but we got one, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, to at least talk about the idea of him being interviewed. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I'm not interviewing for anything. I'm just am who I am and put it out. That's a decision that needs to be made by the vice president, and she will make it on what she sees. And I am who I am.
Yeah, so he's still staying pretty mum on the process himself. But like you noted, we're going to have a clear idea of exactly who the Vice President Harris's running mate is by Tuesday when they set out to go to Pennsylvania for their first event as a joint ticket. So that means any time from now between Monday, we can finally get that answer.
Yeah, well, it's really not revealing anything with what he said. Today, the virtual roll call began that will formally nominate Harris as the presidential candidate. Talk about how that process works.
Yeah, so this is a pretty atypical situation for the Democrats to be in. Just for a reminder of how we got here, the state of Iowa had a ballot deadline of August 7th, which of course is 2 weeks before the Democratic National Convention. And for a moment there, Republicans in that state were suggesting that President Biden or now Vice President Harris wouldn't be able to be on that ballot if they didn't meet the deadline. So Democrats took it in their own hand and scheduled this virtual roll call process. It kicked off yesterday, and basically what you'll see is, delegates will have 4 days to vote. By August 5th at 6 p.m., we'll have a clear idea of who exactly is going to be the Democratic nominee. We kind of know now because we found out yesterday no one met the deadline to actually challenge Vice President Kamala Harris. So we know she's going to be the nominee. This is just sort of a formal process to make it official, and that process will be completed by August 5th.
And finally, Trump's comments about the vice president, about her racial identity, continue to spark outrage. Has she responded personally yet?
Yeah, she has. She actually yesterday during an event in Houston where she was addressing members of a black sorority responded to it directly for the first time. Take a listen to what she had to say.
It was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect. The American people deserve a leader who tells the truth, a leader who does not respond with hostility and anger when confronted with the facts. We deserve a leader who understands that our differences do not divide us. They are an essential source of our strength.
Yeah, so you heard there something that the campaign has been consistent in doing. It's about driving a contrast between Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump. And this event, his remarks here at the NABJ conference, were another opportunity for her to do that. She is positive, focused on the future. And as you heard there, she's framing the former president as being hostile, as being angry when confronted with facts. And of course, suggesting those aren't good attributes for someone who's vying to be, once again, the president of the United States. So really, responding to this in a way that's consistent with how her campaign has sought to frame the former president.
Nnamdi, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you so much. Coming up, newly released 911 calls reveal Sonia Massey's family warned police about her mental health one day before she was shot and killed by an officer. Details just ahead. Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. In southern India, a rescue operation is underway after torrential rains triggered landslides that have killed at least 166 people. Over 1,000 rescue workers are searching through mud and debris, with more than 200 people still missing. A judge in Britain has identified the 17-year-old charged with a deadly shooting at a children's dance class. Axel Rudakubana faces murder charges for killing 3 girls and attempted murder for injuring 10 others. Protests erupted because of misinformation linked to the case. Those protests have led to multiple injuries and over 100 arrests. Security forces in Nigeria fired shots and tear gas to disperse protests against the cost of living crisis there. Demonstrators clashed with police, leading to curfews in several states across the country. The protests highlight the public's frustration with President Bola Tinubu's administration. In Pakistan, the city of Lahore faced record-high rainfall today, causing severe flooding and traffic chaos with at least 3 deaths. This adds to over 100 rain-related fatalities in the past month across Pakistan. The rains are expected to continue for a week, raising concerns of flash floods and landslides. Growing outrage tonight over the killing of Sonia Massey. Now the sheriff who hired the deputy behind that fatal shooting spoke with NBC News as he faces calls from Massey's family to resign. NBC's Maggie Vespa reports.
She gets upset, then she thinks everybody's after her, like paranoid schizophrenic.
Tonight, Sonia Massey's mother heard on newly released 911 calls warning her daughter was having a mental breakdown.
And please don't send no combative policemen that are prejudiced, please.
Okay, well, that would be
will
done
kill
of them,
her.
and they just do their job, okay?
I'm scared of the police. Please,
Okay,
please.
there's nothing to be fearful of, ma'am.
The sheriff's office confirms that call came in one day before then-deputy Sean Grayson shot and killed Massey in her Springfield, Illinois home.
You better I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry. It sounds like Sonia's mom was trying to warn authorities, potentially warn your agency. How does that hit you now, knowing what happened?
Well, I haven't heard the tape. I'm certainly concerned. I want our deputies to have all the information they can before they arrive, and so I don't know why that wasn't transmitted.
Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell releasing Grayson's personnel records showing 2 of his past employers said he needed more training. A third advised Grayson did not demonstrate good officer safety skills. The sheriff tonight says he put Grayson through 16 weeks of training, adding Grayson's previous employers, namely Logan County, never informed him of allegations of misconduct, including records show lying about a high-speed chase that violated department policy.
It's unfortunate. We needed the information, and it's a informal process, and it was not provided.
Logan County tonight not responding to our request for comment. Grayson's pleaded not guilty to charges related to Massey's death, his attorney declining to comment. Massey's family is calling on the sheriff who fired Grayson to resign.
Will you resign?
I will not resign. I understand the pain, that they're hurting, and they want to hold somebody accountable. We are holding somebody accountable. That is Sean Grayson. He did this. He alone did this.
And Maggie joins me now. Maggie, what else did the sheriff have to say during your interview with him?
Yeah, Valerie, we covered a lot, which is kind of surprising when I tell you that we only had 15 minutes to get in all of our questions with Sheriff Jack Campbell. But you heard him say in that piece, for instance, that the hiring process, he called it informal. And we'll get more into why that is. But he's right about that, especially when you look at state laws. And given that he says past employers of Sean Grayson, because it's informal, failed to, he says, inform his department about this kind of history of red flags, I had this follow-up question.
Should it be formal, looking at this? I mean, I know we're talking about, you said it's not helpful to look in hindsight, but that's kind of what this whole process is, like an investigation into what happened, why it happened. Should there be more formalities in that process to force information to come like that to light in the future?
I would be happy to work with any entity, including the State Training Board, the Sheriff's Association or any other community group that wants to get involved in this is to figure out a way to make this a formal process. It will be the same for everybody. I don't think just in Illinois, but across the country to ensure we get this information. But it would be a difficult process, a legislative process that is not simple. But look, it's important that we have this information. So whatever means necessary, I'm willing to work with anybody and get it done.
And it is worth noting, again, we talked about, looking at the state laws of this. Our investigative team has done that. And first, we should reiterate, and this was obviously known, there is no national standard for police vetting for local and state agencies across the country. Our investigative team also did a deep dive and found out that 13 states in the United States don't have any kind of requirement for a psychological test when they're hiring and vetting police candidates. Illinois included in that 13. So there is no requirement for a psychological test here of potential police officers and deputies. One was done in this case, the sheriff says, but that kind of speaks, Valerie, to that lack of formality that he's talking about.
And Maggie, we now have those 911 tapes. What does that 911 call tell us about Massey's mental state at that time during that day?
Yeah.
And what else did we learn about that big batch of information that was released?
Yeah, it was released overnight, and we'll start with the 911 tapes. That was included in it. I mean, basically, this is Massey's mom, Donna Massey, the morning before the shooting. So think 9 a.m. The shooting happens almost 24 hours later, around 1 a.m. And she's telling deputies that her daughter is having what she calls a mental breakdown. You hear her say that her daughter is like a paranoid schizophrenic, doesn't quite classify her or diagnose her as that, but just warns deputies that she's being erratic, that she's not being violent, but that she wants them to be aware. And again, you heard in the piece, the sheriff says he doesn't know why that information, he believes, didn't make it to his deputies when they got to the home. Beyond that, we're hearing a lot from the sheriff's department about what they did know when they hired Grayson and what red flags they were aware of. That was covered in our piece as well. But I just want to show you really quickly the video of this rally that just took place here in downtown Springfield. All of this doing a lot to fuel the anger of the family and of the community who want justice all around in the name of Sonia Massey. Valerie.
Okay, Maggie, Vespa, thank you for your reporting. And before we go tonight, it's time for the future of everything. What if the future at school looked a little like the past? We're talking way before smartphones existed. We take you to one school where students are already leaving the phones at home. Plus, Lester Holt sits down with the ultimate hype man, the one and only Snoop Dogg. That's up next. Welcome back. Tonight in the future of everything, imagine walking into a high school and not seeing any students on cell phones. No, you did not step into the 90s. It is actually happening in some districts across the U.S. Chris Glorioso from our New York City station brings us the third installment of his Generation Text series. Tonight, a look at the benefits of cell phone bans.
In Newburgh, New York, this class of graduates has the distinction.
And congratulations, class of 2024.
Of being the first in a decade to experience high school without smartphones in their pockets. Talk to them about their relationship with cell phones.
It definitely affects your mental health.
And you get the sense they know something is off.
When you're looking at the screen, you just want to keep looking at it. Kids are just like always on their phone, not socializing like normally.
We don't know how to talk to each other anymore.
Newburgh graduate Imani Hornado told us she was at first skeptical of a new policy.
The pouch is locked.
Requiring cell phones be kept in lockable bags during the instructional day.
They definitely did have a positive impact on the school as much as I did not want them.
It is a solution more and more schools are adopting, a magnetic pouch like this one. At the beginning of the day, students take their phones and lock them inside. For the entire school day, the kids are locked into their classrooms. And at the end of the day, they wave the pouch in front of a magnet, press a button, and they get their phones back.
You could see the change immediately.
English teacher Dennis Marr was first to request the cell phone ban. He told us he could barely make eye contact when phones were in students' pockets, backpacks, and inevitably in their hands.
A lot of heads down, earbuds in, looking at a device. You know, sometimes kids would just walk into each other.
They were zombies.
Zombies. Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
But once the phones were locked in those pouches, he said he was able to reconnect with students. And perhaps more importantly, he says they reconnected with each other.
In the lunchroom, kids were having conversations again. And that, to me, was the biggest thing. Like, I could hear the noise and the bustle.
Phone ban strategies like the one in Newburgh are now being considered by schools across the country. And over the last month, more than 500 principals and vice principals took an iTeam survey with nearly 2/3 of them, 64%, saying they support using phone pouches or lockers to eliminate distractions. They're also worried about another D word, depression.
Anxiety, depression, has become a normal part of American adolescence.
Zach Rausch is the chief researcher for the New York Times bestseller The Anxious Generation, a book which argues dramatic increases in teen depression and anxiety are linked to smartphones.
If we think about how bullying has changed over the last 20 years, bullying's always been part of growing up, and it can be very painful. But one of the things that having the smartphone and social media in our pockets enables is that our bully is now with us 24/7.
But not everyone agrees smartphones are causing mental health decline among teens. Developmental psychologist Candace Odgers says the book mistakes a correlation for a cause. And by singling out smartphones, we risk stigmatizing typical teenage behavior.
There's a lot of time spent demonizing youth today, and it's ironically happening from adults with really big social media followings that are using it to shame this generation. Yes, they're reporting that they're sad. There are many things in this world that would make me sad as an adolescent.
And yet, if you ask the principals and vice principals we polled, they overwhelmingly believe smartphones are a part of the reason students are more depressed, anxious, and lonely. Nearly 80% told us girls are experiencing the most negative impacts from their phones.
Raise your hand if you are convinced that the smartphones are definitely behind this mental health crisis that teenagers are experiencing.
I think we'll look back on this time, and I think we're going to wish that we did something a little sooner.
Chris Glorioso, News 4 New York.
The battle between AI and the music industry is heating up again. 2 AI companies are now being sued by the Recording Industry Association of America. As legal fights play out, some musicians are singing a different tune. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung explains.
Jay Sean's got the hardware to prove it.
There you are, right up there. And there I am.
And his biggest chart topper, the 2009 hit, Down.
Baby, are you down, 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 down? 20 years ago, when I first started, people were still lining up outside record stores for an autograph on their CD.
But times have changed.
I've seen songs on TikTok and Reels. I'm like, I didn't sing this. I did not sing. I didn't write this. I didn't sing this. But then I'm like, but it is a good song. And it sounds like you. And I'm like, damn, maybe I should have written it.
AI-generated music taking off when a Drake and Weeknd track generated by AI went viral last year. The song was taken down at the artist label request. Some artists trying to turn the tables by using AI themselves.
I do think people are going to do it regardless. Get some control. Beat them to it. The ball's back in your court.
Enter Hookie. Jordan Young, or DJ Swivel, wants to allow musicians to open up their voices for AI generation, but on their terms.
We build a model with that artist, and then that artist can share that model with the user base. And in that sharing, they get to decide, one, what their royalty split is.
In the tool, a person could sing a verse in their own voice.
Yeah, behind a filter. See you when and change your ways.
And convert it within seconds into the voice of someone else.
Yeah, behind a filter. See you when and change your ways.
Jay Sean thinks it's pretty good.
Colder than a winter. Yeah.
That sounds like you. That sounds like me. And imagine how freaky that is for me, though, when you first heard that.
More importantly, Jay Sean gets the final okay. So if someone wants to publish a track,
colder than a winter, yeah, couldn't maintain the flame.
It will need Jay Sean's approval first.
I get to listen to it and I just go deny or approve. And it's as simple as that.
And he gets paid. In his case, 25% of what's earned on the recording. Artist rights activists are hoping lawmakers do something too, with eyes on a proposed bill in the House that would punish companies for simulating an artist's voice without permission.
These are laws specifically geared towards preventing unauthorized deep fakes and voice clones, the use of an artist's or any individual's name, image, likeness, voice, to be replicated without their permission.
While Jay Sean is playing nice with the new technology, don't expect to hear AI on his next album.
Whatever we're going to hear on that album later on this year is going to be all you. Yeah, this album is actually just all me singing. Jay Sean AI does not make an appearance on this album.
But with this new tech, his voice could make an appearance on yours. And by the way, in this world, it's really difficult to tell these days whether or not what we're listening to is AI generated or not. And we spoke with the founder of Hooky, who mentioned that he felt it was really important to make sure that these were properly labeled. So if you do generate a song using the Hooky app, it will be tagged as AI. So it would be Jay Sean AI, not Jay Sean, just to make sure that everyone knows exactly whether or not they're listening to a robot or a human. Back to you.
Brian, thank you. Finally, tonight, let's check in on the Olympic Games. The U.S. still leads the pack with 37 total medals. Suni Lee and Simone Biles competed in the individual all-around today. Biles snagged yet another gold, her 9th overall medal. No American gymnast has won more. Suni Lee captured the bronze. And speaking of iconic duos, how about rapper Snoop Dogg and NBC Nightly News anchor Lester Holt? They sat down today to talk about Snoop's time in the City of Light.
It turns out you don't need a medal to be an Olympic star, not when you're Snoop Dogg.
It's time!
Snoop is a crowd pleaser in Paris and making fun an Olympic sport of its own. I stepped into Snoop's world today at judo.
Nice, tight, close-range fight. Up close and personal. Come on.
You've been doing your homework. Yeah. It's clear he respects the games and the fans.
Watch out now.
His commentary on point.
Gadi, he put him in bed with the okey-doke. He crossed him over.
I sat down with Snoop to talk about this new chapter in his career. You're living your best life, aren't you?
I am having fun. Let me stop lying. I am having fun.
Did you expect any of this?
Never. Never in my wildest dreams, especially as a kid growing up, you know, watching the Olympics, seeing how big this was and how...
So you did watch as a kid?
Yes.
I ran into you at beach volleyball.
Yes.
The other day, and you were leading the crowd, and you got...
Come on,
you're
man.
America's biggest cheerleader, right?
Come on, man. I'm the biggest kid in the crowd.
And he's been everywhere.
I put on a fencing outfit, and I fought against one of our medalists.
Don't say fought. It's a sport.
Well, I sparred. We'll use that.
He's done commentary for badminton.
Give me that. No, I need that. No, over here.
Swam with Michael Phelps. Rode a train with LeBron James. But for all his adventures in Paris, one moment stands out. His turn as torchbearer.
It's something I'm going to be able to live with and be happy with, to know that I was the face and the voice of peace for that one moment in time.
That does it for us tonight. I'm Valerie Castro. We'll see you tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.